Hello friends, my name is Keisha, and I'm a proud member of the Métis Nation of Saskatchewan. I'm also a survivor of human trafficking. My trafficking began in Canada and crossed it to the United States. I was stalked, hunted, and ignored by the very systems that were meant to protect me. This is why, with my father, Dale Richardson, we started the CARES Project, an Indigenous survivor-led movement for humanity. We are dedicated to exposing human trafficking, government corruption, and holding institutions accountable. The judicial branch is broken. It has failed to restrain the evils that have come upon this republic. Whether it's family court failures, weaponization of the judiciary, COVID-era harms, or human trafficking, the courts have allowed these issues to continue unchecked for too long. One of the most powerful tools we're using is the petition for redress of grievances. These are lawful constitutional actions rooted in the founding principles of this country. On May 19, 2026, a formal petition for redress of grievances was submitted to the United States Congress. This petition is demanding that Congress and the President use the powers under Article 4, Section 4 to preserve this Republican form of government by restraining these abuses pending congressional investigation. Through the CARES Project Action Plan, we are mobilizing people across the United States to strengthen this effort. This petition has been created as a template. If you or someone you love have been hurt by these same systemic failures in the courts or by government institutions, your evidence matters. When you come forward, please bring your evidence along with a copy of the petition for redress of grievances. This helps connect your story to this growing constitutional record being placed before Congress. We are asking you to stand with us. Join the CARES Project Action Plan and help us build a precedent that demands accountability and protects the God-given rights of American families. Our united voices will compel Congress to uphold the Constitution and safeguard our liberties. United we stand, one nation under God. I will close with my favorite quote. The greatest want of the world is the want of men. Men who will not be bought or sold. Men who in their inmost souls are true and honest. Men who do not fear to call sin by its right name. Men whose conscience is as true to duty as the needle to the pole. Men who will stand for the right, though the heavens may fall. Thank you.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the CARES Project podcast. Today we have Meg Miller, the founder of Stand With Meg, who is an advocate who has gotten what is the proper name for it? The Global Family Rights Survey that's in 51 states. But isn't that 50 states?
Well, it's 50 states, but there's territories as well. So it's in one territory.
What is Puerto Rico?
Yeah, there's more. Yeah, I can't think of which one it is. But yeah, we have a few, like 4 extra U.S. territories.
Okay. All right. So that makes more sense because I was like, okay, Canada didn't become the 51st state.
No. Canada has its own report. They're there too as well.
Yes. So you've got 16 countries and almost $1 billion in reported losses. So, and you're a single mother. How did you end up actually getting to here? And you do a podcast, your own show, and one with Sean Lee, the Sean Lee Report. So
yep, and we're starting a new series as well too. How did I get here? Well, I've been in family court for over 13 years this month, actually. It's 13 years ago this month. I was pregnant with my twins. I had, at that time, I had a 5-year-old, a 3-year-old, a 1-year-old, and I was pregnant with twins. And it was my 30th birthday, and my ex decided to just leave. So I became a single mom with lots of little ones. I had 3 in 1 year. And with that, the divorce started. And so the 3.5 year divorce within a actually really good judge. He did follow the law. He followed the laws of evidence and due process and all of that. And so after 3.5 years, I had a 30-page divorce decree. 30, just realized that. And the divorce decree was very detailed on what happened within the marriage, the abuse, how he was uncredible witness. He lied on under oath multiple times, and the judge even addressed that. And I got 80%. And it wasn't that I wanted my ex to not have the children at all. It was the fact they were so little, and he was having too much fun dating a ton, vacationing, and really not wanting to be a father at that time. And so I dedicated my life to be the best mom. So I did get 80% because of that. And then right after that, he took me back to court. He appealed it and then took me back to court in Kansas. And so that was Missouri. Now it's in Kansas, and Kansas won't honor the divorce decree. And so since then, I've been in court still. So 2017 on. Can you hear that beeping? If you can't, I won't worry about it, but I don't know why it's beeping.
Is that your phone?
I have everything on quiet, so I don't know what's beeping. I put it on Do Not Disturb. I have no idea. Anyway, long story short, as the children got older, he moved closer. I gave him 50% custody. At that time, my twins were 10, and they were older. And so then I didn't realize behind my back, he was telling the children all these lies about me, but as well as met with the court-appointed therapist for 69 sessions. He married his nanny, and she had been plotting for years. I have a 45-minute police officer video of her trying to get me arrested. And I quote, she says, "All I want you to do is get her arrested so I can take her twins and say, peace on, peace out." And so she's been trying for years to take my kids, and they succeeded. So they convinced this therapist, 69 sessions, like I said, behind my back for over a year. These lies. No one.
Who's trying to take your kids?
My ex. So a lot of times checked out fathers don't really want to parent until they find a person that wants the kids, a woman. And that happened in the situation. He met her, and she started plotting a way to get me in jail so she can have my kids full time.
Get you in jail? Like how? Like, I'm just.
Yeah, she made up lies.
Like, what did she try to put you in jail for? Like, because the audience, they don't know what's going on, right? So,
okay, right. So she told, and I have it on, it's pinned on my Instagram, but she used to be a police officer, and she was mad one day that she didn't get to have the twins because they were so sick. I had to take them to the hospital. Well, it's a 45-minute video of her talking to her friend that's a police officer at the police station in my town, and trying to figure out ways to make up lies about me to get me arrested. She said I stalked her, I hid her, all these lies. And so then the cop came to my home, saw the twins, did a welfare check, and even the cop was playing along with it. Like, who really is, if they're sick on a Saturday, how is she going to get help? Is she going to take them to the ER? Like, just mocking me and making fun of me. And then the police officer came to my house. I recorded it. And the police officer told his ex that I was going to be this horrible, mean, crazy person. No, I have it recording. I said, "Hey, what's up? Another wellness check." And she didn't even question me. She just handed me my court hearing that I had to go to court for battery. And so then I had to hire a criminal attorney, and he got the video. And once the prosecutor saw the video, they dropped everything. So everything got pulled out. And so she's been trying for years, and she finally got them. So on January 29th, I dropped my kids off to school, had a wonderful weekend with my kids. My mom stayed the night, and I'm dropping the kids off, and my oldest son says, "Mom, you're going to get off work so you can come to my basketball game. I'm playing varsity." I said, "Yeah, I'll be there." And then my twins are excited to work on their school project. And my second son always kissed me on the cheek goodbye, and that was a one day he didn't. And then I found out emergency hearing. I go to the hearing, hear these horrible lies about me, and that was it. Never saw my kids again.
And how long ago was this?
January 29th, 2024. So 2.5 years.
And they didn't give you any reason for this?
Well, it was, it's kind of like a circus, right? My mom paid for $10,000 for retainer for attorney. And, yes. After all of this, I realized the attorney could have filed within 14 days to appeal it, and she didn't. Come to find out a year or two later, that attorney that we hired works with my ex's attorney, which works with the therapist and the GAL. They're all together. So she didn't fight she pulled out within a month because I went on Facebook, my private Facebook, and went on a messenger and updated my closest friends within our little group. So it was like emailing. And I just said, "This is what's going on." Well, someone leaked that, and they were saying I was going public. And so that attorney pulled out and never refunded my mom the money, still to this day. And so then that's when I started realizing more and more. I knew the system was bad because I had been in it for so long. But I got to experience what family court could have been like. Now it costs $350,000 for my divorce decree, but at least I had due process and real evidence in front of a judge. And then Kansas, I just saw, since I've been stuck here since 2017 in Kansas, I spent another $100,000 on credit card, paid that off, and then now I'm at $80,000 credit card debt and maxed out. So it's just a system. I found that they all work together because the same therapists with the same GAL, they get to bill. And so I didn't even have access to my children at all from January 29th of 2024 to December 23rd of that year. So exactly 11 months, there was not even a way for me to talk to them, see them, nothing. Oh, I can't hear you.
Sorry, I like to mute myself sometimes. So
Okay.
so after all of this happened, so when did you decide to get into advocacy? 'Cause this happened in 2024, you said? So when did you start becoming an advocate?
So after they threatened me with jail because I was on a private thing on my Facebook that someone hacked in and got, I was like, you know what? You took my kids. You took everything. I lost my home. They canceled my child support without even looking at anybody's financials. My ex makes $19,000 a month just on disability. Not to mention he also works with his wife too. But and so I lost my home, had to sell everything, lost my children. I had put all their belongings on the front porch. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. No one's even asked me if these accusations are true. And they wouldn't even let me read them or see what I still haven't seen the report. And so after that, I was like, you know what? I'm going live, and I saw one other woman kind of going live on TikTok, and there wasn't that many people talking about family court at that time. And I'm like, I've been quiet for over, at that time, 10 to 11 years about this court stuff that I've been going through. And I have not talked about how horrible it's been and all the money and everything. And so I saw one woman kind of sharing a little bit, and I'm like, how are you not getting in trouble? And so finally I was like, you know what? I'm going to blast this because I know there's other people out there that have experienced this. And so I just started blasting, God was like, take this big. And so when I first started, I would pray over my reels and ask the Lord if he wants this to grow and to change, please, let's do this, Lord. And so that's kind of what happened. I just started posting nonstop and really telling my story. And it was scary at first. But it's funny because as people finally realize as they go loud, actually everyone starts pulling out because they're scared of being exposed. And that's when I learned how to do federal law cases. I filed federal lawsuits too. I've learned law like crazy, read cases, everything. And nothing worked. I went to the Supreme Court in Kansas. Nobody would give me a remedy to even get in front of the judge. And so I tried everything. So I'm like, the last thing we can do, I can't help anybody because no one's listening. No one's doing anything they're supposed to do. No judges aren't getting audited and looked at. Therapists aren't, and they're just racking up the bills. So I was like, we got to expose it. That's the only way to stop them is put their faces up like Yelp. We have to review restaurants. We get to review doctors, but we can't review the people that actually have the option to take our children away just if they want to with no evidence. And so that's kind of where the whole platform started. And then I started my survey, and that's just really, it was a lot of work at first, like trying to get people to do it. But now I'm so thankful people are doing it all the time. I just had 5 more court actors go live that I get to go get the pictures and post them live. So now if you search the court actors, you will see my mug face on the Google images next to them. So you can now search these actors and see if they've been reported and go read.
And so, I have a little bit of, quite a bit of experience with unwarranted state interference with their children. My oldest daughter, who she was talking on the video at the beginning, she got taken by Child and Family Services without any provocation whatsoever, and she was 4 months old, and I found out on my birthday, and I had to fight. I lost all parental rights. I had to fight 3.5 years to get her back. I got custody of her, which is unheard of after losing parental rights. but I was like,
Yeah,
you
that's
took my
expensive.
kid. That's crazy. So, and then 20 years later, because I was a whistleblower with COVID, they took my youngest daughter and gave her to her mom. Like they threw me under the bus. Like I was going to court with my daughter, and we got arrested going into the court. They took me, strapped me to a bed, drugged me against my will, settled the entire divorce while I was like they ordered the sale of my house I was living in, cut me off of my daughter. My daughter was already illegally withheld because she blocked me access to my daughter, which is a crime in Canada, right? Like if you don't have a criminal charge or a court order saying something, you can't. And even if you have a court order and you have sole custody, you still can't block the other parent from seeing the child. Otherwise, you'll go to jail. Like there has to be some harm that they're doing to the child. But because I was unpopular because I went after the government and so forth, they punished me with my kid. And so I haven't been able to see her. I had an indefinite no contact order put on me that day when they dragged me away. No
On
chance.
your second?
Yes.
Okay,
So
you have your first one, and then now
yes.
you can't even see the second. So the sisters can't even see each other?
No, my youngest daughter's 7.5, and I haven't seen her for 6 years. And so
Oh, man.
I mean, they don't even put pictures on Facebook or any of that kind of stuff. And like, I mean, I went through every court. I went to the Supreme Court of Canada a bunch of times. I went everywhere and they shut me down. They didn't block me from the courts. They blocked my oldest daughter from the courts as well. So I get it. So this is why I'm like, to hell with these guys, right? Because
Yeah.
when I
You want to go? Let's go.
yes, when I ended up getting my daughter, my oldest daughter back, I had to go to the government, the media, and a bunch of different agencies all in the same day. And when they saw that, they were just like, he's too much problems. Give him his kid back. And so it's going to take not just exposure, but you have to pressure the government and everybody else so that they can't look away and say, I don't know about this. Right. And that's really what has to happen because
Right.
they're stealing people's
And
kids.
that's kind of what I've found because I've heard so many people like you with CPS, because to me, CPS and family court's the same thing.
Yes.
I've seen people done everything, tried everything, went to federal court, and they weren't doing it. And I'm just like, something has to change here. And that's where it's like, you know what? Expose. Everyone needs to expose. And that's where I've seen more and more. I've seen so many people now start posting. Just the other day, my mom was here and I went on Instagram real quick and this woman was crying saying, how am I supposed to act normal when I haven't seen my kids since May? And she was bawling. And I was so proud of her for telling that story because anyone right now in the United States and globally, you can lose your kids like that with nothing that you did wrong. Nothing. And everyone is at risk. Even your neighbor can now call on you for CPS and you could lose your children. And this is also your grandkids. Think of if you're past the phase of you're having your children, they're all grown, think about your grandchildren. So this affects grandparents too. My mom hasn't seen her kids, probably like yours, hasn't seen my 5 children since the day they were taken too. So
Well, what people don't understand is even if it's just even in a custody hearing, when families split up, it puts a lot of strain on the children, more strain on the children than anyone else. And a lot of the times when they make the family court adversarial, the parents might, be trying to go after each other. One parent's going after the other one. The biggest losers are always the children because the children, like, regardless of the issues between them, the children aren't going to understand when they're young why this is going on, and you're going to just cause them more harm. And so at the end of the day, they're putting people in a position where they're going to be destroying their kids. And then if you have, you add in CPS and so forth, then you look at what the outcomes of those children. Because when you have families that are divorced, children don't do as well. If you have single parent families, they don't do as well. And single mothers it's not even close, like how bad it is because of their vulnerability and so forth. And then when you take into the fact of putting kids in CPS, then you go off the charts for things like kids being trafficked, kids being sexually abused, like a lifetime in prison because you can't pay someone to love you and all these things. So when you start doing this, you're destroying society when you're just allowing the government to make all these decisions to take your kid at will. And what people don't realize is that those things that you do to the kid when they're young, you don't see most of the effects until they're adult. By that time, too late.
Yep. And I don't know if you saw Sean Ryan's one of his latest shows with one of the actors. I don't know her name, but she was exposing CPS and the foster system within CPS. And there's not one law in all 50 states that doesn't let foster parents. So let's say a kid goes into CPS, then all of a sudden they get adopted out. Okay. So anyone can adopt them, get adopted out. Well, then this is happening a lot. There's like 20 states this is allowed. You can sign over parental rights to the child to get married. They can get married, whatever age. And then guess what? And they don't have to give consent. The children don't. And then they get signed away to a person. And then they can sign that and keep going. So what she was uncovering is children in the CPS, the percentages are crazy huge with, suicidal, depression, and mental illnesses to where these children are angry. And, children are the biggest money trafficking in the United States, in the world, honestly. And no one is caring. I mean, look at Epstein. No one cares. And that's where I'm like, enough's enough. I'm done. I'm done not having our rights to have our own children, and the government can just come in and take them like that. And, we have, especially with CPS, you have these young kids, girls, boys out of college, very young, and they get to decide everything for your situation and who's monitoring them. DCF came back, said I was a good mom, and that the woman that looked in my case, she goes, I have no idea what they said, that your children were great. And so thankfully I got a good DCF person. But then when I went to DC a year later, I just decided to drive there, and I talked to Rand Paul. I talked to Eric Smith. I was just walking the halls. And on my way back, I slept in my car and everything. On my way back, DCF called me and said I had it substantiated that they're going to say I'm hurting my children because of my social media. So I do have a substantiated letter now. Every year I got called on by my ex, and never had it because I was a great mom. But then I got one because I went live on social media.
The whole issue that they're going on is that they don't want people talking about stuff. And I look at a lot of cases, they put people with gag orders. Like there was a mom in Florida, they came and they took her kid, and she's got cystic fibrosis, and she was doing good on the treatment that her mother had on, because the drugs that they were giving her before, they were making her worse. And so she's like, no. So they came and they took their kid, put her on experimental drugs, which is probably going to shorten her life. She's not doing as good on it. And then they're, smoking around her and stuff like this. And then she's talking about the, potential sexual abuse from what the daughter's saying. And so this happens oftentimes, and this is out of control. People have to understand the way that liberty works, especially for a child. Now, a child has a right to, the same liberties as an adult, except the child does not have the capacity to protect those liberties themselves. So they depend on their parents to do so.
Yep.
And then the child has a right to the best development possible, so that they can go ahead and become an adult and defend their rights properly themselves. But without giving them the access to their parents, this isn't going to happen. And even if the parent's not the best parent, it's still better than the alternative, because the threshold to take a child away from their parents is extremely high, because you have to weigh the risk of what is going to be the downstream consequences of taking the parent away as opposed to keeping them there. It's better off for them to help parents become better parents with their children than to take them away, because the way they're taking them away, they're making them worse. And you shouldn't make the child suffer. But people don't think about this. They don't even talk about this. They talk about children like their property or whatever, but who has the right to do that? But you're forgetting, what does the child have a right to? And the state can't provide it. They can't.
No. And you have to, people don't realize as well that this is money. They care more about getting federal dollars and money than to actually keep the families together and united. Because like your daughter, the government got tons of money off of that. And that's what people don't understand and there is no other court system out there that can literally know everything about us as parents. They can know your DNA, everything from your social media, your emails, bank statements, you name it. Everything is an open book, and you didn't even commit a crime.
Yes, and speaking of what you said about my oldest daughter, she's Native, right? And so she did not go get any of her cards or anything of that until she was an adult. But when they took her as a child, they still had her marked down that way because of her family history. And with Natives, they get way more money. Native and disabled kids get the most money, right? So
They
if
do,
your
you're right. Mm-hmm.
So they get this, and it's a ridiculous amount of money. This is why Native Americans have the highest rates of trafficking out of anybody. They're 10 times the national rate in the United States. Like in Canada, they make up less than just under 5% of the population, but 50% of the women trafficked and 51% of the children trafficked are Natives. And because, especially through the CPS system, and once they go through that, and like they will abuse them, and they will actually even traffic them. When I was growing up in Winnipeg, they had put kids in hotels in downtown Winnipeg, and they knew the kids were getting into trafficking, and there were traffickers waiting there, and they would continually put the kids in there, and it was on the front page of the news, and they still did it anyway.
Yep. And that is what's happening as well, is even when kids start coming in the system, then all of a sudden they are labeled with a disability because, yes, they get more money. Then they're put on all these drug cocktails, which make them can go crazy, or drug them so much they have no idea what's going on, and they just keep going.
Yes.
It never stops.
I was just talking to somebody that they were talking about their kid getting drugged, or somebody's kid getting drugged, so that they didn't remember what was going on, because they were talking about somebody that was doing some really filthy nonsense. And then they were like, yeah, the kid was like, they're giving me 2 injections in my leg.
Yeah, and I don't talk about my story much with my oldest daughter, but the same, she was constant every month. The court, you know, when you have a court-appointed therapist and psychiatrist and all that, you don't have an option. And so my daughter was getting multiple cocktails every month, and she changed. And I don't like to tell her story because she's 18 now and it's her story to tell. But she went from a kid that was struggling with certain things, and then all of a sudden, wow. And that's what they do. So like, to think about it, the pharmaceuticals make more money when they do this. The therapists and doctors make more money because they have to keep seeing it. CPS and our state makes more money by labeling our children having an issue or disabled. And so everyone makes more money. Everyone, except we don't. I mean, we're fighting. We're spending thousands. So the lawyers that make money because we're spending money on lawyers trying to get our kids back, and all while they're just killing this child's brain because they're ripped away from their parents. And I always say this, you know, I've never cried so much in my life ever in the last 2 years, and I still have moments where I just cry. But nothing's as hard for a child to all of a sudden never see their parents again. That to me, when they're that young, and that mental problem of what's going to our children, we're literally, our next generation is going to be having a lot of mental issues unless we stop this.
Well, they're creating a lot of the issues themselves, right? This is a whole problem, because when you start putting the child under duress and passing them around and all this kind of stuff, they're damaging them. And a lot of the times that the kids don't have the ability to articulate this, they can't tell you what's going on. They're traumatized. Like, for example, my youngest daughter, she spent lots of time
Not
around
to mention the stuff they're being told. I mean, think about your father didn't really want you. He didn't fight for you. You know, all the lies that are also being told.
Yes, which is insane, because like anybody who looks at the stuff of what I'm doing, they're going to sit down and understand this. Like, my daughter named the thing, the Karis Project. That's the name of my youngest daughter. Her name is Karis. And like, I mean, the business that I opened, it had her name in it. Like, I mean, I'm a father that loves their kids. Like, I fought like hell for my oldest one. You think that one day I'm just going to be like, oh, I'm not going to just,
I don't want more.
I'm going to run off from my kids, right? Like, they literally had to try to kill me to keep me away from my kid, and then use the force of the state, because she tried to get me arrested for me talking about stuff online. because I got
Mhm.
the occurrence reports from the police, and I saw that, and I knew that was the case. And she blocked me on everything because they said I have supervised visits, but I have no way to contact her, and I have a no contact order. And her lawyer said that she'd blocked me on everything. So it was like, okay, so how am I supposed to get visits? And then they make me
Yeah.
pay child support for a child that I can't see or anything, but they make me pay for that. I'm like, okay, when my kid, I don't have a problem looking after my kid, but I need to see my kid. Like, I mean,
Right.
at the end of the day, if you're not going to let me see my kid and cut me off from everything, why are you making me pay for a child that I cannot see? Right? Like, you're basically holding me hostage. Then you destroy me so that if I don't pay, then I go to jail. Right? That's literally like peonage. You cannot do this. This is like, I have to do this rain, hail, sleet, or snow with no benefit, or I go to prison. That's like, if
Well, and
somebody,
isn't it weird that we could rack up hundreds and $1,000s of credit card debt, not pay our house, all of this, and we don't go to jail, but we go
yes,
to jail for child support. That the state actually makes 66 cents to the dollar that you pay. So that's why.
this is, I mean, at the end of the day, this shouldn't happen. I understand that if people don't want to take care of their kids and so forth, they should they should they should get dealt with. But this is not the way that they're doing it. They're putting people in unreasonable situations. Right? The guys
Well,
that
and I think,
don't care
sorry, go
get
ahead.
away. Like I said, the guys that the
Right.
people that don't care, they get away with nothing.
Mhm,
Right?
mhm. Right. I mean, if a person is an actual abusive parent and their kids are being taken away from them, they're like, good, I don't want to take care of them anymore. So a parent that does good, that keeps fighting, hello. And that's one thing with my survey that I've done. If you look at every state so far, when people fill out, are they in family court only, CPS only, or both? It's literally like 3% are the people that are only in CPS. The rest are all in family court and CPS. So the family court is using CPS as a weapon to take children to rack up the bills, because the other parent that's fighting, that wants to hurt the other parent, they call CPS. I've never called CPS in my life. My ex has done it every year, and who else? And his wife has. But that is what's the craziest thing. CPS is actually so busy with family court that they really can't even. That's why there's so many children, like the Ohio, those 16 kids locked in that 12 by 12 room. That CPS is so bombarded by family court cases, and all it is a way for the system to keep going.
Yeah. I mean it, and once they get when when you've gone into the system, and a lot of people don't realize, when you've gone into the system for CPS and you have kids, guess who's showing up when you have kids? Right? They go through the cycle
You're
because
never out.
no, because my oldest daughter, her mother was in child and family services, and so when she came and had a kid, they started to pay us visits, and I didn't even realize that that was a worker piece. She lied to me and told about who the person was, because if I knew who they were, I would say, get the hell out of my house and don't ever come back. Right?
Right.
I would have just said, get out and don't come back, because I understood what happened when what their track record. And I'm like, you guys are like the devil. But at the end of the day, I mean, they will try to keep doing that and sit down and do that stuff. But after I beat them, the lawyer for child and family services says they're never going to come in your face ever again. They are never going to come in your face again, because I was the guy that beat them at their game. And I'm not the guy that's going to get angry and curse at you and throw a chair at you. I'm just going to be like, all right, I'm going to find a way to burn you, but we'll wait. And that's really what they need more people to do, because when they take your kids, they're provoking you to do something stupid. And then they're like, oh, you see? Well, why'd you
Yep.
take their
See,
kid in
we
the
told
first
you you
place?
were crazy.
Yes.
And that's what it's changed a lot. And people, I don't know if people realize this, but years ago they always said if CPS shows up to your door, don't answer it, right? Don't let them in. Don't let them in. Well, now CPS has gotten so good that they can literally just make a phone call and interview you on the phone for 10 minutes, and then all of a sudden they have the report. Really? So they're working ways to get more info on these children. By now, they don't have to come in.
But this is the problem, because what they're doing is unconstitutional. I don't care what they sit down and say that they have rules, or even if they pass laws, the laws have to still adhere to the Constitution for it to be valid. And when you're doing, and there's a thing called due process. Everybody needs due process. When it comes to like CPS, you're guilty until proven innocent. That's not the way it works, but that's the way they do it. So when you come in front of a judge, and the judge goes ahead and defers to CPS, guess who's at fault? The judge. Why?
Mhm.
Because the judge is a referee, and his or her power is the power of decision. That's how they exercise the power given to them. And they're supposed to always decide in favor of the Constitution. That's their job. They don't have a discretion to disobey the Constitution, but they do. And that's where you have especially at a state judge, Article 6. Every judge in every state is bound by the U.S. Constitution, treaties, and its laws. So they might circumvent the state constitution because they're getting away with it, because the elected officials are allowing it to happen. But I'm sorry, but you just violated the supremacy clause. This is why we went to the federal government, because when you have situations like this, when they take away your constitutional rights, the federal government has a right to intervene because of Article 4, Section 4. Think about the civil rights movement when they were doing away with segregation, and the state said, no. What do? They said, really? We're going to send in the National Guard and slap them in line. And that's exactly what needs to happen, because the states are out of control. The judges are not getting disciplined. So the federal government has to guarantee there's a Republican form of government.
Correct. And there's there's 2 remedies I'm working on. And it's just, they fell in my lap, and God is so good. But, Sean Lee, the criminal law attorney, he's teaching people and me how to report this fraud. So we this year finally got a fraud prosecutors now in every state. As of July 6th, every state has a fraud prosecutor, meaning that they go after fraud. Well, what is fraud? Wire fraud, billing, email. I mean, it's all there for the court. So that's one way. The more we can start exposing the fraud to the FBI, the DOJ, and so on, that's going to start moving this into the direction that we want. And also, we can start, once these judges and attorneys and therapists see any of those people getting arrested for the fraud, guess what? They're going to start following the law. And secondly, I know Sean just the other day in one of our episodes, he said, I think everyone needs to start hiring brand new attorneys that are just out of college. And that way they're not corrupt. Their retainers are way lower. They're not big, but they know the law. They should. And he believes that we should just stop getting attorneys. I don't think we should have attorneys at all in court, but I just think it's 2 parents can go up and talk, depending on the situation. But and then the other thing we're doing too is I'm working with Sean Donnie. She has worked with the HHS, and we now have executive order in, and we are wanting the child services to freeze everything. So that is my next campaign that we're working on. I was just texting this morning, and that is big because we are asking the federal government to audit, because the federal payout, the most money they pay out for programs is child support, Title 4D it's called. And that's what our money, our tax dollars are getting paid to a system that never gets audited. Mind blowing. And so we are demanding, we're asking, his name's Alex, he runs the child services, and we're asking him to freeze first with Texas and California and then onward. So it's been kind of exciting. So with the survey that we created, we've had 2 other people working behind the scenes to get the numbers, and they got the numbers about the child support and CPS numbers. And then with the survey that we've created, now we have proof. So it was kind of like they had a missing piece, and the survey was that missing piece. And so that's been really exciting to try to expose that more for people to understand, because it's kind of hard to grasp. But I did make a place on my website. You can go to standwithmeg.com, and I made it to where you could email your congressman, just copy and paste, put your name in, and also who to contact to ask to freeze your state, to ask for an audit. And that's on my website as well.
So when you're doing these surveys, what kind of information are you collecting in the surveys, just out of curiosity?
I've been collecting how many children are involved in the case, collecting court actors' names so they can go in and fill out the judge, CPS workers, who all is in their case. Some people have 15. And then everyone needs to write like just a one comment or two, a one sentence or two sentences of what they did to them. And you can do it anonymously. And if you do it anonymously, I tell people don't put too much personal info in there. Just say like no due process, no laws of evidence. And then we're asking what county, and so we can see hotspots if you're in just CPS and just family court or both. And what were the outcomes, and just questions like that. And how much did you spend? That was a fun feature to add this year, where we added the expenses. So how much did you spend on attorney fees? How much did you spend on therapists? And a lot of people don't fill that out, but I really encourage you to do that, because that shows I know it's not fun, but that shows how much money these people are making. I mean, I can right now go and look and see how much everyone's spending on just GALs, or how much people are spending on lawyers to get their kids back that are just in CPS. And that's a huge point, because when you bring awareness to the money that these parents are losing, going bankrupt, losing their home, living in their cars. I also have on there, how much did you lose? Did you lose your house? How much? Job. How much of our jobs are affected by this? It's not only financially expensive, it's emotionally exhausting. How
Yeah,
do you function when you're trying to work and deal with the only thing that matters in our life is our children?
but with this whole idea of the guardian ad litem, like in Canada, we don't use those things. They don't exist. So my question is what do you even need a guardian ad litem for? What
Exactly. You
purpose?
don't.
There
You
is
don't.
no reason for it, right? Like
Nope.
the
Nope.
like the court should be like, first of all, the court should be a last resort. The court should be this way, that you go settle this as parents yourself. If you can't and one of you is disagreeable, or both of you are disagreeable, guess what's going to happen? You're going to pay for coming here because you shouldn't be here. That's the way it should work. And then if you do this, then you have a jury of your peers, because none of this nonsense between this behind closed doors or any of that stuff. No, you're going to do it in front of other people. Well, you don't want to do it in front of people? Figure it out, right? Because if
Mm-hmm.
not, then you're just going to have
Exactly.
to get it dragged out in front of everybody else.
Right. And that's where, like, for instance, my ex is a very good Christian mortgage guy in the area. And he's, he used to have a radio show, and he had the best family, wonderful wife, before all this. And which was me, he talked about, which was funny. But, he doesn't want to be exposed because he's known as a Christian mortgage guy. And so that is the thing. If you are willing to get and be exposed within family court, I don't think we need attorneys. I think two parents can stand up and say what they want. And if it's really bad, they can ask for a jury trial. I think it's not hard. Look at Judge Judy. But if somebody really wants to kill somebody, meaning take the children away, then they have no problem getting up in court and exposing everything they want to as facts.
Well,
And if it's not facts and they lie, they should be prosecuted.
yes. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, when my ex-wife is not a very nice person. Like, I mean, not the fact that I don't like, aside from, like, I'm not a person that I don't care about what people do. If she didn't do the things she did, I wouldn't have taken the position that I do, because my oldest daughter's mother, she was drug addict, did all kinds of stuff, whatever. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to stop you from seeing your kid. You got to be sober. These are the circumstances. You're going to do this because,
Right. You can put boundaries in place.
yes, because I'm not going to be that guy. But with my ex, like, she committed fraud to take the house, right? Like, I mean, signed her name in my place on the sale of home. She was listed as a buyer. I was listed as seller. She had her cousin's wife as the broker who was selling it on my behalf. And then the lawyer that I was in court with went to, like, go to the bank that she worked at to discharge mortgage, acting like he was representing me, which was not the case. And all of this stuff, like outright fraud. Like, I mean, and then allowed me to get strapped to a bed and drugged against me. I could have died, right? The stuff they were, God knows.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, if you're willing to do that, there's a problem with you, and you don't deserve to be a parent, and you're abusing the child.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you were willing to do this to another person, you're sick. You're absolutely sick. I would never do this to anybody over a kid, because I'm like, it doesn't matter how much I don't like you, I don't want to harm my kid.
Right. Because that's the part of them. That's part of their soul. I mean, it's their parent. And that's one thing I always say. My ex was very abusive. He was a horrible guy. He's very cocky. He's got like tons of race car, all these fast cars. And I never liked how he treated our kids. He's just very harsh and mean. Don't cry, just harsh. But I still was like, I'm not going to withhold them anytime, even though I had 80% for 10 years. Anytime my son wanted to go with his dad on a trip, go to a car show, he always was allowed to go to a Chiefs game. Always. I never, ever withheld my kids from their father. And that, even though I don't like them, right? And I don't even like how he treats them. But to me, it's like, well, they can decide one day how they want to be treated. I'm not going to decide that for them, because maybe it's not as bad. I don't know. I just never wanted to keep my kids from their father, because that's their dad, period. I mean, even when I gave birth to my twins, I could only have one person in the surgery room. I pushed them both out, but they when you have twins, they put you in the operating room to make sure, just in case you don't have to have an emergency C-section. And I could only have one person in there, and it was him. I had to. I didn't want to. I mean, he was cheating and texting his girlfriend the whole time and sending pictures of me to his girlfriend while he's in the operating room with me, and watching me give birth, because I never wanted to tell my twins, nope, your dad wasn't there. He never got to see you come out, right? So I gave up my feelings for my children, even during that. And I think if anyone that's a good parent for you. I mean, kids need access to their parents. I'm sorry. Unless they're killers, like you said, boundaries, healthy, they have to be sober, all that. There's a lot of people that made mistakes and gotten sober and become amazing parents.
Yes, they have. We'll keep coming to that. I just going to take a short commercial break, but we'll go into that because that's something that people need to understand. But we'll be right back.
Terrio, co-founder of Mark37.com. I spent my career in Silicon Valley working for high-tech infrastructure companies, and I've witnessed firsthand the surveillance apparatus they've built. Most of you already know we're in a digital war right now, but are you really aware that we're trying to fight this war with the weapons and tools of the enemy? That Android or iPhone in your pocket? That MacBook or Windows laptop? It's a tracking device feeding everything you say and do to companies that want you under their control or eliminated entirely. Every text, call, location, even how long you pause on a post, they track it all and use complex algorithms to then use this data to manipulate your behavior. If you knew someone hacked your devices and was selling your data without your consent, you'd be furious and terrified. So why are you okay with these companies doing this to you right now? Here's what they don't want you to know. There is another way. At Mark37.com, we offer phones, laptops, tablets, and even basic flip phones, all running systems big tech can't access unless you explicitly give them access. And what's even better is you also don't need to sacrifice productivity. I'm one of thousands of geeks mobilized across this country, building tools and providing education and support to help you live anonymously online before they enforce digital ID. Go to mark37.com. Sign up for a free 30-minute digital privacy consultation. Join hundreds of thousands who have decided to stop feeding their data to companies actively working to enslave us. Take back your communications. Take back your data. And may God bless you on your journey.
Yeah, so if you go to mark37.com and get yourself a phone, you can use the promo code CARES, and you'll get a 5% discount. Okay, I guess kind of just waiting for her to get back. But yeah, I guess. Oh, there you go. Back. All right. So yes, so when it comes to like kids, and I tell people, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, well, this person has a criminal record." I was like, "So, did that person harm the child?" Because I don't care if you stole something from the corner store because you were hungry, even if you knocked off a liquor store. At the end of the day, did you do something wrong to your kid? And I'm not sitting down and saying that they're the model parent, but if the parent can correct themselves and be there for their kid, it's a better thing than to take the kid away, right? Because if
absolutely,
even a parent that's a drug addict. And I actually talked to the people at Child and Family Services, and they said if they're a drug addict, they can't just come in and take your kid. They can't. They have to prove that your drug addiction is making you a danger to your child, and so forth. And like, I mean, I knew girls, they were prostitutes and stuff like that, and they were drug addicts, and they still had their kids, right? They didn't, the ones that, for example, went on a bender and left their kid in diapers for like 3 days and not fed, then they lost their kids. But if the ones I knew that they would do their drugs, they would go do their stuff, and they would come home and they would still have their kids. And a lot of them eventually gave up that stuff, which I'm like, okay, that's good that you did that, because then, it's better for the kid. But it's not easy to just take away the person's child, and for good reason. You destroy the child. And so people have to start rethinking how this thing goes, right? Boundaries, yes.
Even married couples. I've seen, there's a woman that she's on TikTok. She's pretty popular on TikTok in Missouri, Kansas City, where I'm from. Her and her husband just took their 3-month-old to the hospital because something was wrong. I can't remember exactly. And all of a sudden CPS was already there, and they lost their son, and their 9-year-old daughter for 6 months, went to 4 different foster homes. And thankfully that boy probably will never remember because he was 3 months old. But the 9-year-old, that's a critical time of life. And they're suing them now, actually, big time. But yeah, 6 months for a married couple just taking their kid to the hospital. And people don't realize hospitals are working with CPS too to do that.
Yes, and that's.
Did you hear they're actually putting when women give birth now? They're putting drugs in their NEP stuff or anything purposely. Do you hear that?
Really? No, I did
Yeah,
not.
that's up and coming. There's a news article, I saw that, but I've had a lot of moms tell me they've never done a drug in their life, and all of a sudden their child tested positive for a drug. And so, yeah, that's another. So it's a tactic. It's, when we keep speaking up and telling them, they try something else.
That's crazy. Like, I mean, like going and putting drugs in people's system, right? Like that's next level. And I mean, the fact that the people are doing this, like anybody who gets caught doing this should go to prison for the rest of their life.
Amen.
Like if you're going to do these kinds of things, and then with people that are doing, like, I mean, I'm not even at a point with the judges. I think they should get capital punishment, because when they're involved in this is like an egregious level of crimes that are being taken place, and they're using the force of the state to take away children unlawfully. This is like kidnapping, right?
I have one judge that has over 17 people submitted about that. One judge, 17. And those are just 17 people that chose to speak up.
In what state?
I think that one is there's one in Indiana that has about 18, and I think the other one, I'm trying to think of the other one's at. And that right there should be evidence where this judge gets completely, FBI needs to go after him and arrest him. And that's what Sean Lee, the criminal lawyer, has taught me. He said, we don't know how to report fraud within the family court. And so that's what we're trying to teach everybody, because the more we can do that, then they'll start getting arrested and put in jail. He goes, literally picture a GAL can't come home. His home is locked up and his car is gone, and he's arrested and put in jail because of what they're doing. And that is where it's an exciting time, is because we are finally exposing this horrible system, and it's going down. I know it is. And we are going to take them down. We just need more people like you and everyone else to speak up and start filing these claims against CPS workers, against the, judges and so on.
Well, and yes, like, and people need to do all kinds of things. Like I tell people, I'm like, there's nobody with one magic bullet that's going to solve everything. If they do tell you that, they're lying, because they're people like, oh, only do my thing and forget everybody else, and we're going to get this. I'm like, really? Did they do one thing to destroy everybody? No, they did not. So it's going to take a bunch of solutions.
It's all of us, right? Jessica Saxon, she's doing a part. Everyone's doing their own little thing, and I support anyone that's trying to change this. No one knows the silver bullet, but when I say we will stop this, I mean everybody, not my survey, not my everybody, you, me, all of us, and even hopefully in Canada, you guys are Canada's starting to turn some bills around too, I've seen. But it's bad there in Canada.
It's extremely bad. There's a guy actually who signed the petition in the States, and we did one here in Canada, but we're getting more traction in the States because people here are very asleep. And they took his kid from Canada, he's American, and sent the kid to the UK, right? And they are notorious here. Like, I mean, it's bad in the States, but it's worse here because it's insane. So they need
it's bad anywhere, because I'm going to see how many people we have in Canada on the thing. But I know multiple people that started in the States. One girl is now in Finland because Minnesota let her ex take the kids to Finland, so she had to follow. And now she's fighting in Finland in that family court system for her children. And that's just, to me, it just mind blows my mind. I wanted to see how many Canada has. They were doing really good for a while, but kind of got quiet. Where are you, Canada? I guess I can search. And you have your own report on there too. I don't know if you know that. Did you know that Canada? Australia is almost there. Australia has one more away and they get their full report. Canada, you get 61 people and then you have a report. So you can open up this report, and that's what I encourage people to do. Share it within Canada. And this will be, the report is made to where your legislators or government can look at all what's going on and the court actors and everything. You guys do not have one live court actor yet, though. You're like one away from so many, but I encourage Canada to do it because it is bad. You guys are high up there. I mean, you're close to Arkansas and Louisiana. They have 61, 64. California has like 400.
When you think about it, like a lot of the rural areas are extremely bad. Like, for example, where I was in Saskatchewan, that's probably the most corrupt province for the court system anywhere.
Yeah.
Because doesn't have a high population. It's a lot of smaller towns and so forth. And
everybody knows everybody and everyone works together, meaning they can do things that they shouldn't be doing.
Yes, that's exactly it. Like how my name got taken off insurance policies and so forth without actually getting me to sign or a court order and all of these things. And this is the way that they do business, and they get away with it because they all protect each other. And so they're like, well, the judge let it happen.
Well, I'm not going to go down if you're not going to go down. It's almost like, if one goes down, they're all going to go down. So they all cover each other's behinds.
Oh, yes, because I handed the police their evidence of the fraud, and they just were like, but those were the same police that arrested me and strapped me to a bed and drugged me. So they're like, why am I going to investigate them? Because then they'll roll over me, then I will go to jail and everything else like that. And for what the police did, that's life in prison. In fact, almost everybody involved would get life in prison in Canada for what they did, because we don't have the death penalty. But I think a lot of people with what's happening are probably going to want it, because you can't steal people's kids like you just can't.
Right. Well, and that's when the latest episode just dropped yesterday with Sean Lee. He goes through filing with the detective, doing the fraud and what each system does. So he said it starts here at this person. Then he literally explained to the viewers how to make sure when you do report fraud, it keeps going. And that's what was a really cool tool, because I've had a lot of people say, I've reported fraud before and no one cared. And he literally gives you, okay, contact this person, and this is the next person, and this is the next person, this is what's happening. And it was really cool. So he's working hard to teach us all of it, because he's had his own story too. He lost his, but he didn't talk about his story. He doesn't want to, but his story is severely sad, severely.
Yeah, and I think that what people have to do is continue to push it, and because a lot of this involves, especially with the CPS and a lot of the federal funding, this is where the federal agencies can get involved, right? And you have your state agencies and your federal agencies, but you also need to make this public, and you also need to get the elected officials involved, because when you reach a certain threshold, and when you have people going forward and because you're going to get people that are good, and that are going to want to do their jobs, and they're going to be the people that are dirty that are not going to want to do their jobs, and then there's going to be the people above them that are dirty that are going to be trying to protect the racket. This is how these guys operate. You're going to need to put pressure on them, and the guys, to further up the chain they get less pressure. So you need the federal government to put pressure on them, so that the more people can get through, because the more pressure they get from the federal government, the more pressure they get on the state level, they're not going to have anywhere to run. We want to basically make them start running from cover by getting them pressure 6 ways from Sunday. And the more that this happens, the harder it becomes for them to do what they're going to do. And you're going to start seeing people just buckle and caving, because eventually you're going to put enough pressure on them that they're going to give in. Because at the end of the day, the alternative, they know that if they keep doing this, then people are going to start getting violent. And I'm not advocating for violence, but there's always a people that the less control they have, those are the first ones to go, right? And that's just the way it is. You can't keep doing these things and expect no repercussions.
And that's kind of what the point of my survey, our survey, was for those PDFs, so people can do that. And I also created a connection circle so people can connect with other people that have the same court actors, and that way that you guys can start banding together. Because, for instance, there's 2 things. One, there was a guy that I jumped on his Zoom in Texas, and he had worked hard to promote people to show up on the Zoom. And when I got on there, I can't remember how many were on there, but by the end of it, I kept posting on my Facebook, get on, get on, get on. We had 90 people on his trial, on his little hearing. And that judge has taken kids away from multiple parents. She was the first time she was good, because guess why? She's being watched.
Yes.
And that's what, the more we expose, and that's why that's how it started out, where court systems were not always supposed to be public, so that everyone can watch to make sure they're actually following the law. And I remember one time I went to Oklahoma to be there for a mom and her daughter, and that judge was like, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "I'm just investigating." And they can't. You're allowed to be there. And I've had now judges in Texas and so forth ask if that person is friends with Stand With Meg, because they know, guess what? We're going to go public if it's not done correctly. And that's, there's another mom in Florida that I randomly shared her court hearing, and she had all these people from Florida come to her hearing. I was so excited for her. It wasn't on Zoom, it was there. They didn't let anyone in the room, except for her, which is horribly wrong. But she started a Facebook group. Now I think it has like 20,000. It's called It's the Court Watchers. It's called We the Parents. And people, now she's helping people all find people to go with them to court. And I just love that she started doing this. And somebody just simple like that, just all of a sudden she saw how much it helped her case and how much she didn't feel alone. So she started her own group, and I'm supporting it. And we all can do a little something.
Yes, we can. And I think that what ends up happening when people like go and put this in public, it makes them start to think about things. Because I remember I was in a court hearing with on WebEx, and a mother in Texas. This woman had a bad situation. She had an abusive ex. He beat her a couple of times, black and blue, and then he raped her. Came in and raped her, and she was bruised and everything else like this. And like, she was so traumatized. I had to help her put together her evidence package to take to the police and for the court. These are things that I wish I never had to see in my entire life, but I understand the situation because she couldn't do it herself and she had no one else to help her. So we're at the court hearing, and the guy's trying to put her in a mental hospital because they took the kid from the mother, put her with the abusive ex, and now the kid is saying that she's being abused and coming with like black eyes and stuff like this, right? So I'm like, what? So they were saying they want to put her into a mental hospital because she's, having all these problems. And I just opened the mic in the court hearing, and I said, the only how she's having mental health issues is because the court is failing to protect her from an escalating pattern of violence from a man who's beat her, gone to the police, she raped her, and then what's next? You take away, she can't have a firearm, so what's she going to do? She can't call the police. You're going to come her and kill her next. Of course she's going to be in a bad situation. And then they're all like, like, who's that? And I was like, somebody who can't stand there and watch you guys commit a crime, because what are you doing? And so they didn't put her into the mental facility. A few months later on, they just got her on contempt and to throw her away for 90 days. But this is the whole situation, is that they're getting away with doing these things because no one does anything, right? And they put them by themselves at the end of the day so they can do the most wickedness.
Yep. And that's why I interviewed the DA here in my county one time. I said, "How come you don't ever go after any of the accusations of a father or a person in the family essaying a child?" Well, because it's a family business. No, it's not. It needs to be
What?
investigated. Yeah. And that's their whole philosophy is, if in the family. And I've met many of children that at 5 years old, they found the doctor saw something. The child said, "Yes, daddy is doing this." And all of a sudden the mom lost the kid. Said that they taught the child. So it's they don't want to investigate that, because guess what? When they take kids away from good parents, they will continue to pay to get them
Well,
more money
yes.
in their pocket. So why not target the good parent? Because they won't stop spending the money. I paid $10,000 for a unification therapist after my kids were taken, and I didn't have one time option to see them until December 23rd, when there was no abuse. My kids were snuggling on my bed the night before they
Yeah.
were taken. So, I mean, it's all about the money.
Yes. And like,
And
I
they're
mean,
all winning.
yes. And like, I mean, in my cases, like one of the cases that I had, it's like one of the worst cases. Like the judge like lied through his teeth all of the time, and then it was like there was no defense attorney, there was no opposition. Like it was me, and the judge was the opposing counsel and the judge. And this is the way every single one of my cases has gone. And a lot of them, they would put them off because they didn't want anybody hearing. They're like, "Oh, we no recording," even though they're supposed to keep a court record. Like, "Oh, we don't have any of that stuff," and so forth. But and they do that. They didn't get to this by just one day waking up and being corrupt. They were doing this for a very long time. Like they did. People have to understand the court system is being very corrupt for a long time. And you know what they started using?
Mm-hmm.
They used it on criminals. They used it on minorities. They used it on poor people. And most people were like, "Oh well, making it sound like it's terrible." But then now it's happening to everybody else, regardless to the circumstance. But they were doing this for a very long time, and nobody cared. And now they're realizing, "Oh crap, the whole system's corrupt." Well, yes, it is. They weren't lying, right?
Right. And that's what, back in the day, there was, before I went down the rabbit hole for trying to figure out when family court started and all the history behind it. And, it started with child labor laws. That's when it first started, that type of children in the courts. And because people back in the day in the 20s were using kids as slavery pretty much, and not giving them an education. And that was lower income people, right? Making kids work all the time instead of learning. And so the child labor laws came in, and then just kind of formed over to family court. And that was 1975. It really started. That's when all the Title 4D came in, and I mean, people don't realize $6.6 billion a year is paid out to child support stuff to your state. And I don't even know what Canada is. That'd be interesting. Do you know what Canada is at all?
For which?
Do they get incentives for child support and all that?
It's done a little differently, but there's a lot of, let's put it this way, there's a lot of fraud going on in the courts where they're getting money, right? And I've seen a lot of dirty stuff. They don't necessarily get the kickbacks like they do in the States, but there are other incentives for them to do this.
I know there's probably other. I just didn't know if you found those at all, because that's I was just interested to see what Canada does differently. But I mean, I will tell you, the UK is just as bad as in Canada. Australia is bad, and you guys all pretty much have the same type of government,
Yes.
don't you, with Canada and all them? Yeah.
Yes. We all got it from the UK. Even your government's based off of the British system.
Yep. It is.
All of our legal systems come from there as well.
It's been fun. Sometimes I go down and look at like what Spain, how they do theirs, because they are different. I can't remember Spain. It was another country, but I'd watch their court hearings because I wanted to see how they did it differently than us. And they did completely differently, but some kind of similar, but nothing like ours. They have like 4 or 5 judges that always sit there. But it is interesting to learn the history behind it, because it'll tell you a lot about what's going on in your country, our countries.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, people have to understand that when they take your kid, they control you. This is what people have to understand. The moment that the courts take control of your kid, you're their slave, because they know that a
Mhm.
parent will do anything to protect their child. It's better to kill the parent than it is to go and withhold their child, because you can only kill them once. But then over the
Yep.
course of the child's life, they're watching the child suffer and all of that kind of stuff, and you're driving them insane, because parents are wired to look after their children and protect them.
Yep. And
And,
that's their win, because then if a parent commits suicide, then guess what? The state still gets the money for the child. You know, foster parents make so much money per child, like way too much. And like you said, they get more money if they have disabilities, so they hoard the children, while
and
these other parents are like, well, I want my kids back.
well, and this is why when a court does not follow the law and they take your child and they put you in a bad situation, this is forced labor, because now you're forced to work for your child. And I'd say, well, you don't have to. What do you mean you don't have to? I'm wired this way. Like, what am I supposed to be? Become a demon and not care about my kid? You're forcing
Right.
them to. And I've seen people that were rich, they were millionaires, and now they're going bankrupt because they were trying to get their kids. And this is
Mhm.
literally slavery, because you're putting them in a position where it's like peonage, like a debt slavery,
Mhm.
because the child is the debt that they're trying to get back. And there's like, you have to keep spending money and money to get to see this kid. Or if you, then they put you in some unrealistic child support situation where I've talked to a mother, she's in jail right now in Texas, because they were just like, oh, well, you have no money. They didn't have any hearing. Well, we're just going to assign you $10,000 worth of child support, or we're going to give you 6 months in jail. Right now, she's in jail.
Is that guy?
Yes, no money to pay. Yes, and so forth. And they're doing all of these ridiculous types of things. And a lot of the times when this was happening to men, they just were like, oh, it was a deadbeat dad. But that's really not the case. Like, I watched this in my own eyes. A guy had no job and they assigned him X amount of child support to pay. And they're like, well, you can go down here and go get a job.
Mhm.
Well, that really?
That's what I said earlier in the beginning of this. You don't go to jail for not paying your house payment, which could be, $5 million house, and you don't pay it. You don't go to jail. You just lose it.
Yes.
Like, and this is over like 10,000 for, it doesn't make any sense. And then how are you supposed to pay the child support when you're in jail because you can't work?
Well, and then they ended up like, and this is what I said, like, what is going to end up when you put somebody in that situation? Like, for example, Kai, she's going to be homeless. She's going to be broke. And then she's going to be what? In a position where people can exploit her, right? This is what happens. And then you create the circumstances for them to be in a bad situation. And you're not giving them a situation to actually help the situation. You're just punishing them unlawfully. And now you've created more of a mess. The court they don't have the authority to do that. They don't.
No.
And
I always say that they're based off of opinions, not the actual law.
Well, and that's where they need to be reined in. And like, this is like everybody should go back and read the Federalist Papers, even if you're not American, because they give you the idea of the way the branches of the government are supposed to function. And they said, yes, the judicial branch is independent, but they said that no branch should be so independent that the other branches cannot check them. They said that
Right.
ambition has to check ambition.
Yeah, even the Constitution doesn't have, they're immune. There's none of that in there.
No.
It doesn't say that judges can't be held liable. And actually, our forefathers, even yours, wanted us to be able to go into court and represent ourselves. Attorneys back in the day never went to law school. And that's another, I've been studying, they literally made law school so expensive, only elite can afford to get a law degree. Even though back in the day, that's not how I wanted it. I mean, you literally can walk into court with a napkin writing on what happened to you, and they have to take it. But they've made it as money scheme system so that we can't represent ourselves and we can't fight for our own rights. They don't want us to know about our rights.
Yes, even the writ of habeas corpus, for example, since we were talking about Kai. Now, the habeas corpus was something that was immediate. Somebody can come in front of a judge and ask for a writ of habeas corpus. And they would send the person in to bring you immediately to the judge so that they can determine the validity of the detention. That was an instant thing. Now they have all of these exhaustion procedures and all these things. That's not what the Constitution says. I didn't read in there saying that you can exhaust, or the only thing that you can delay or suspend the habeas corpus is for insurrection and war. So if that's not,
I learned about the habeas corpus in Alabama because there was a mom that went to jail because the judge threw her in jail for 10 days. Her name is Megan. And I went down and learned what their habeas corpus is. And their state laws, they said that anybody could file a habeas corpus for her. So I could have, being out of state, file it for her. That's how it should be.
That's literally the way habeas corpus worked. Anybody could come in and ask for the habeas corpus, because the person in jail can't, because they're in jail, right?
Right.
And you didn't have to be a lawyer. And that's like, everybody has the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus. Like that's why they put it in there, because it's the greatest deterrent against tyranny. And when you're doing all of these unjust things, if you have these exhaustion procedures, if they put you in jail for 6 months or a year, you'll never get through these exhaustion procedures before you can get to file that habeas. You've effectively created a suspension by using procedure, and then the procedure becomes greater than the Constitution, which that's not the way it works. Right. The procedure has to be subject to the Constitution, and if there's a conflict between the procedure and the Constitution wins. But that's not the way the courts treat it.
And people need to learn more about their laws, because I went to the Supreme Court in Missouri and filed against my judge. And when I went there, drove 3 hours, and the font was 12 and not 13. Well, the clerks were like, I'm not taking this. I said, yes, you are. I stood there for an hour. I said, there's nothing in our Constitution, Supreme Court law, that it has to be that. What you're saying is a procedure. Go. And they finally took it, and the judge okayed it. So that's what I'm saying. They scare you because they want you to be dumb and not know, but they're wrong.
Yes.
I follow the Constitution.
I've had that happen to me all the time. They were just like, this rule, they throw to court. I had like stuff filed, the judge comes in and unfiles it, and all kinds of things like this. And this is what people, they should not tolerate it, and so forth. And don't think that this can't happen to you. And if you don't even think it's going to happen to you, you have to understand the way that liberty works. If your neighbor doesn't have liberty, then neither do. All you have is a privilege until somebody comes and decides they're going to take it away. And by doing nothing, you're consenting to this. And that's what people have to understand. There's no not getting involved in this. Either you're part of the problem or you're part of the solution. Because if you do nothing, you're consenting to being part of the problem.
Amen. That's one of my favorite quotes I love to say is when people fear the government, there's tyranny. But when the government fears the people, there's freedom. And that's what we need. We're trying to get that back. And I think with not just family court, but I feel like everyone's waking up to the corruption in every county, every country, with the elite rich completely just using us as puppets.
Yeah, I just wanted to say a few things here quickly before we wrap up. With the fraud cases, have you guys gotten anybody to start getting investigated with that? Has Sean gotten any of that going? Or is it just...
So he's taken me, I have a folder here, it's a big folder, and when I go in to do mine, he wants me to give that folder to the FBI and the DOJ too, to show, because he's got all the evidence and all the proof.
Yes.
And they just started this task force July 6th. So that means we didn't even have prosecutors in there that could handle this. And that's where he just showed too on the last episode I launched yesterday, where now the FBI is hiring attorneys to help look at all this. So things are moving. I mean, you look at Minnesota, they found out that daycare was having fraud. And with Mike Shirley, Nick Shirley, sorry.
Yes.
So it's going to, but no, there's been a few people that have done with the DOJ, but I'm waiting to do mine until I've learned everything and I've been working on it. But that's where it's really important for people to really start understanding, because he's opening my mind, because he's a criminal attorney. All he does is go to trial.
Yes.
And all he does is, and he knows the criminal side. And I never even thought, like, we're going to have to start actually hiring criminal attorneys instead of family court attorneys.
Yes. Because a lot of
And
this
the criminal attorneys will love that, because they don't make much money. I mean, criminal attorneys hate family court attorneys, because criminal attorneys, they have to cap out. You can't charge a certain amount over a certain amount, but not in family court.
Yes, because there's no limit, and like they drain your entire estate, and then, I mean, it's no different. Like the probate court is a racket as well, where they're doing this and just sucking money out of people. Like, for example, like there's somebody in Texas. I had her on just a few weeks ago. Her friend's son is in a conservatorship, and they're wiping out his trust fund. But the reason why they're doing this, they got him drugged, and so forth, because he had to fight off his father when he was raping his mother, and like the father was into some, yes, like, and just all of these kinds of things, like, and they were billionaires, and she got nothing, right? And then burning away the kid's trust fund, because they know that if he wasn't in there, he would help his mother. This is how sick the people are. Yeah. This has to get stopped. Like, I mean, I don't care to say it. I don't care if I say it. Death penalty is what all these people need. They do. They really do.
I agree. I don't know. I kind of wish they'd just be rotting in jail forever. The jail's not good.
The amount of money it would cost to do that, I don't want to pay for that. Honestly.
Right? Exactly. True. Good point. I know.
Because
they just have those prisons, like Korea has those prisons that are horrible.
Well, if they want to
nasty,
take them to an island in the Arctic and then say, have at her, and then leave them there.
Yeah, death penalty or go there.
Yeah, because really at the end of the day, we shouldn't have to pay for them for what they did after they've destroyed people's lives and everything else like that. And like, this is why they need to get, like, they need to get a lot of oversight from everywhere. Everybody needs to use everything possible to get rid of these people, because, I mean, all of it, everything, including the kitchen sink. Adam.
I 100% agree.
So I wanted to sit down and say, what do you want to say to people, and how can they help you, and how can they reach you?
The biggest help is exposing it, and I try to make it easy for people. Everything's located at standwithmeg.com, and you can see the survey, you can see the report at the top, you can see Sean Lee report. If you share the website, share it within your town, your community. People need to see what is going on in your own town, so you can download the PDF for your state and share it in the Facebook group. But the more people are sharing, the more the darkness is coming to light. And so standwithmeg.com, pretty easy. All my platforms. I did have my biggest Facebook is like 114,000, and I had to change my name to be verified. Then I'll change it back to Stand With Meg. So right now it's Meg Miller, but X everywhere is standwithmeg.com, Stand With Meg. And when you can get more people in your state, you guys can then have your own support system. We have AA groups, we have all these support systems, but we don't have family court support systems because we can't talk about it. And that's one thing I learned this last weekend on my birthday. I had all these people come and help me with some things that we had to work on in the house. And, they all know the pain that I know. So the more not only are you exposing this darkness, you're also going to create a community for yourself that get it, that know what it's like to have your child's birthday and you can't see them. Tomorrow's my son's 16th birthday. Haven't seen him in 2 years. So that is where, and tomorrow, if I'm upset, I can call so many people that have still the same pain and let you cry. So that's another thing. So it's kind of it's a way for all of you guys to get together and become one, and meaning stand up together. Go speak in your state capital together. I've gotten so many people to finally start doing that. When I first started this, I think there was only like a few, and I did it. And now there's a line, and they now made it Kansas to where you can only speak once a year because so many people want to speak. That's how bad it's gotten.
All right, so everybody should give her a follow, and I have all of your links in the description if you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, Vocal, and so forth. And so go check it out. Fill out the survey and so forth, and see what you can do to get help and share the information, because something needs to get done. If we don't do something, this is going to continue, and they're literally destroying the countries across the world by destroying the families, because your families are your building block of your church, and they're the building block of your nation, because your first church is in your family, your first government is in your family, because your parents, they teach you about God and they teach you about discipline, right? And there's a chain of command in the family, and the kids are the ones that have to follow the law, which comes from your parents. So this is how you learn about that. But if you have bad families, you're never going to have a good church, and you're never going to have a good country. And so this is a huge issue that must be addressed. So before we go, I will close here with a prayer. All right.
Okay.
Heavenly Father, Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your love, grace, and mercy. We thank you for the hope that you have given us this day. And Lord, we put this situation before you, and the situation that we're in, and the work that Meg and those around her are doing. And bless it, and help that they would help to get the children back to their parents, and that all the people that are doing this work, that they can help the families and restore families and children to their parents, and push back this wickedness that we're all dealing with. And Lord, that we can have some protection for the children, and some peace from this evil is my prayer, in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I love